Andrew Saunders, Head of Global Brand Strategy and Marketing for Tastemade. I am thrilled to be with my friends Paolo and Joe from REI, and we are here to talk about something that I think is going to be very exciting for all of you guys. Go to a lot of conferences each year. You hear a lot of talks, a lot of speeches. We met last year at this very conference and ended up creating an awesome content series on the back of it. So, today what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about Foraged and Found, which is a partnership that originated here at BrandStorytelling. And then what I'm even more excited about is to really dive in a little bit into kind of the thinking behind REI's content strategy and marketing, which I think if you're a fan of the brand like I am is obviously very unique and different. So I'm going to do some quick introductions, let the two guys talk a little bit about themselves and the roles they play at REI.
Sure. I'm Paolo Mottola. I lead advertising and the content teams at REI. Go up.
Joe Crosby, and I lead the day-to-day operations of our content marketing program.
Perfect. So I think, obviously content speaks for itself. We wanted to start with Foraged and Found, give you guys a quick little look into what the content looks like. There's a little bit of some performance data behind it. Then we'll dive in, and then we'll start to talk a little bit about REI and their strategy.
Most people see the beauty of nature, but they don't really think about the design of it. Everything's been touched by design. Every petal of a flower, every leaf on a tree, they all have this intended purpose. It's so magical to see it.
To me, foraging means exploring. It is the final frontier of farm-to-table food.
I create jewelry out of found and foraged objects, natural materials like stones and bones. I think that all of these things that I find are so beautiful on their own, but what's really hard is challenging myself to do more with it.
Foraging means it's breaking new culinary ground, working with ingredients that maybe nobody has worked with before.
I think we take for granted as adults that we've seen things so many times before. But no matter your age, we can stop and find beauty and creativity in your own backyard.
So I think, one thing I'd love to do is before we start to talk about the series, can you guys talk a little bit about, REI as a brand, your mission, and really kind of what your overarching goal is with everything that you do?
Sure. Any REI members in the crowd? Yeah, love you guys, thank you.
Come on.
We're the nation's largest consumer cooperative. We've got 17 million members. And our purpose is to serve a member base that wants to get outside. So we've got retail stores. We've got the largest outdoor school in America, making sure that people not only get great gear, but know how to use it and are safe and comfortable in that. We observe kind of societal relationships with the outdoors, and the fact is that the average American spends 95% of their lives indoors. We think there's something problematic in that because we believe that life outdoors is a life well lived. So more time outside makes for better health, mental health, physical health, stronger communities. So that's really what we're all about. And I think hopefully what you see in our work are stories that represent life outdoors, not just product.
So I think, going back to the beginning of Foraged and Found, which again originated at a dinner here, we really took a step back and said, okay, at Tastemade we've got 250 million monthly viewers, largely millennials. How do we really reach them in a way that's going to resonate? And I think what I appreciated about you guys the most is you've always been very, very adamant about keeping the brand and keeping the storytelling authentic. And we ended up having a conversation around kind of this shift that was happening among millennials. You're seeing more and more folks, whether you call it the freelance economy or stepping outside of the 9 to 5, really kind of taking kind of their lives into their own hands. And you're seeing this with things like the tiny home renaissance. And I think what's happening more and more so now is you're seeing this generation start to kind of lean into their personal passions and say to themselves, is there a way for me to take that passion or take that thing that I love and turn that into my life and turn that into my career? And so the thought process for us was, at the end of the day, we can create beautiful footage in the outdoors showcasing people hiking or climbing a mountain, but how do we tell stories about the outside, and how do we tell stories that are really relevant and inspiring beyond just through nature? And so what we did, which I thought was really brilliant, was we actually cast different folks, different kind of artisans. So one was a printmaker, one was a chef, one was a jewelry designer, and really kind of looked at how the natural world influences their career and how they've been able to kind of live a better life thanks to the outdoors. I think the idea here was, if you're a millennial viewer and you're watching this series, which did about 4.5 million minutes, which is incredible, you start to say to yourself, well, maybe I don't have to sit at a desk all day. Maybe that thing that I'm really passionate about, whether it's creating jewelry out of foraged and found objects, or creating meals out of things that you find in nature, could be my life's calling. It could be my life's passion. And I think, at the end of the day, it really just created a strong consumer connection for viewers and felt really, really authentic to them. I don't know if you guys want to add something to that. But I think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. You could have told stories about hiking or mountains, but I started at REI a little over a year and a half ago. Did not participate in the outdoor industry before, at least from a career perspective. And the direction was mountains are kind of boring. I mean, like in our industry, no, they're great. We're skiing them. But as the subject of content, it's pretty generic. And in addition to what Paolo mentioned, trying to foster ways in which people can get outdoors. This series was to show that you don't have to be Alex Honnold and free solo El Cap in order to be outside. Maybe you can just go pick a mushroom. Like an edible, well, you know what I mean? So, and that was really the impetus. And we trusted Tastemade as a media entity to execute on that before we even entered into this specific concept. So we had a good idea what we were going to get into.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I really appreciate about REI as a brand, and we'll touch on this a little bit later when we go into the Q&A session, is they as a brand really do try to do things differently. And what they said to us, which obviously a lot of brands do, is not we want something first of its kind, but they knew what they wanted. They said to us, how do we take this content series and bring it off the screen and bring it into the hands of our consumers and really connect the worlds of content and commerce? And I think what was really exciting about that was, we took a step back, and the way we're built at Tastemade, is we have Emmy Award-winning directors, we have producers that worked for Anthony Bourdain for 10 years, and we all kind of thought about, at the end of the day, what is something that I want to watch, and what is something that's going to actually influence me to purchase something? And I'm proud to say, as a result of it, we ended up launching Tastemade's first ever content and commerce program. And so the way it worked, just to kind of walk you through an example, is in one episode, there's a very successful artisan and printmaker named Sunny Malarkey. You see in the episode her kind of creating prints and creating different pieces of artwork based off of what she's seeing in the great outdoors. And then obviously you're seeing her wearing products that may be REI branded, that may not be REI branded, but at the end of the day, these are things that maybe I want to purchase so that I can go out and have my own adventure, whether I'm an artist or whether I'm a chef. And what was really cool is, when the content lived across platform, you could click underneath it and it took you to a custom site, an experience that we built on Tastemade. And what we did was, underneath the content, you could actually purchase the products that you were seeing in the series. It could be your backpack, it could be your hat, it could be your water bottle. But then we also created limited edition prints based off of the artwork that was featured in the series that were also available for purchase. And I think we ended up doing about 3 different prints, about maybe 10 prints per. But at the end of the day, it became a really interesting way to kind of connect those two platforms together. And then obviously in the other episodes, we tried to create connectivity there as well. One of the things that I think is really special about this is not only was this our first content and commerce program, but as a result, we had a lot of brands reach out and say, wow, what you guys did with REI was so different and so innovative and so unique. How do we do that for ourselves? And we've now had 2 additional brands come to us and basically say, we want the REI model. We did a program with a tourism board where literally they showcased, all the great artisans and craft makers and restaurants in the town, and the best products from all those artisans became purchasable underneath the content. So, I think as a creator and marketer myself, I have to give a hats off to REI for not just doing something first of its kind with Tastemade, but again, influencing other marketers to follow suit. I don't know if you guys want to add anything to that.
You can just endorse me on LinkedIn for influencing marketers.
You got it. You got it.
I won't take up too much time. The last thing I'll say is, like, we didn't feel pressured to add a commerce component. That's not a mandate for like these programs. We don't feel like there's value. We understand the advantage of having the capability of a 2-click to purchase sort of situation, but that's not the impetus of this program. And if we didn't have faith in Tastemade to execute, and if we don't have faith in whoever we're partnering with to execute, then we wouldn't trust a seamless integration of a commerce component, because it wouldn't do us any good. It wouldn't do Tastemade any good. So I think that's the caveat. It was kind of gravy for us.
Yeah, that's great. So we're going to go a little bit beyond Foraged and Found. I'm excited about this. And talk to REI a little bit just about kind of their sensibility beyond this program, and I think in terms of everything that they do. One thing I'll point out is you'll see a slideshow behind. This is visuals, still shots that we shot on location during the shoot, as well as some screenshots around kind of that commerce experience that we talked about. So the first thing that I want to talk about with you guys is storytelling. Obviously storytelling plays a huge role in your content marketing efforts, but I think, as a consumer and through some of the conversations we've had, I see storytelling influencing pretty much everything you're doing. Can you talk about how it's influencing brand marketing, brand purpose, all of these areas in addition to content marketing?
For sure. I think what we love about this program is the kinds of people that we featured, and for those of you who are members, these are the stories that we want to tell. We want to tell stories about people who climb mountains and have a great, traditional outdoor adventures, and then just tell stories about people who have interesting relationships with nature. And so, we need to continue to show different types of characters, different types of stories to help people realize that the outdoors is for them. We need to create inroads and accessibility for audiences to want to hang with us in more of our kind of core communications. And so we've really focused on storytelling and built internal teams, partnerships to make sure that we're constantly going to market in any way that people want to consume media, to consume the best outdoor stories possible and diverse outdoor stories.
One of the things that I appreciate about REI, again, is the fact that you really do kind of carve your own path, follow your own path. I look at Opt Outside, which I would argue there's probably very few marketers in this room that aren't familiar with it. You guys took a really bold step and said, you know what, we're going to shut down on one of the biggest retail days of the year. And obviously with this program, you pushed us and you said, how do we start to connect platforms together? Can you guys talk a little bit about your unique approach to marketing in general, and maybe just a little bit of philosophy behind why you choose to go in that direction?
I'll pick up.
Yeah, it's 2019.
Yeah.
We can't operate like it's 1999, and I think that's the thing, is that we've fortunately been in a place from a leadership level where they've pushed, and we're sort of we actually talk about it. We operate in a lot of ways like a startup within an established company, which is challenging in a lot of ways, but it's also liberating in order to do so, because we're trying to discover the next thing. If we're just, we can product retargeting, whatever, we can do that, but that's really non-competitive in terms of establishing a meaningful relationship with someone. We will do that on the back end of showing them these types of videos, but we want people to give a shit about the outdoors and about us and whatever, and we feel like this is the way to do it.
And I'll just add, I've had the privilege of working on the Opt Outside campaign, and it's 4 years where, for those of you unfamiliar, we close our doors on Black Friday, pay all 12,000 of our employees to take the day off and spend time outside, which is pretty powerful. Thank you. But in that, we're asking people to take action in their lives and think about their livelihood and their lifestyle differently. It's inauthentic for us to do that if we don't take action as a company. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to take actions like what we did with Black Friday to compel people to think differently about their lifestyle, their relationship with the outdoors, and really how REI can enable that.
That's great. I think we have time for one more question. So one thing that I'm curious about, we do about 3 billion monthly views, largely across mobile devices. We just launched Tastemade Television, a 24/7 OTT linear television network. Thank you. I think, obviously as a consumer myself, I see the growth of mobile and OTT kind of surpassing anyone's expectations. As a marketer, what excites me about it is just how much more, I think, creative opportunity is. There's so much more connectivity. What are you guys excited about when it comes to mobile and to OTT, and I think the possibilities of what could come in 2019 or even 2020?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, what's an evolution of this, for example?
Yeah.
Like right now, this feels traditional to us in a lot of ways. It was great. We're excited about the partnership. But social video series, what happens when this is extended into platforms where people are spending their time and consuming media? What are the creative extensions that we have where it's not just this format, what you're seeing, like how does it evolve? I haven't figured that out, but that's what we can explore and the opportunity to explore. So, I mean,
Yeah.
We're down with OTT. I mean,
You said what? What did he say?
I mean, look, we've got to reach people where they are, and I think that's what's exciting about this group of professionals is that I think we're all thinking about where people want to go, consume content, see brands, and we're going to be open-minded and creative in how we do that, and I think OTT enables that for us.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I found really interesting is like you see people obviously going towards these light skinny bundles and OTT, and as a marketer, it's really interesting to see kind of what the view duration looks like. We're starting to do branded television shows, and we did a 22-minute episode, which is equivalent to a 30-minute television episode. We saw 17 minutes being watched on average. So obviously, waiting for audiences to scale, waiting for consumers to catch up. But I think to your point, like I could not be more down and more excited about the OTT possibilities. So thank you guys for being amazing partners. Thank you guys for being innovative marketers, and excited to do more great things with you.
Thank you.